If you go back to some of the Sumerian tablets, they talk about an owner of planet Earth. They talk about the all-seeing eye. What is the all-seeing eye? The all-seeing eye is the satellite, which is known as the Black Knight satellite. Our history is completely false. We think that we're free, but we're not really free. It's the illusion of freedom, like the illusion of unity. Really, we're in massive separation. This planet is dominated and controlled. It's crazy. We are powerful, beautiful soul. Now, there are some people that follow the Emerald Tablets and follow the words and the transmissions that Thoth puts forwards like they're everything. You're fucking dangerous to yourself and to the rest of your sisters and brothers. The force is the same whether you use it for dark or light. So you can use the same force and do good things, or you can use the same force and do not so good things. Stop believing everything you read. So they always tell us the truth. It's just that we as human beings, we don't question anything. We think that the truth is an illusion. The stuff they play us in the movies, they're always giving us the opportunity to rebut whatever it is that they're dangling in front of us. You know, if you go to some of these like local council websites, the council want to build on greenbelt land in the UK, and that greenbelt land is not for planning. Okay, they need to change the title of the land, but what they do is they slip these kind of things underneath by putting tiny little print at the bottom of the website saying, listen, we're planning on building here. If anybody's got any objections, let us know. But nobody ever goes and reads this stuff, so we never see it. And then the laws get passed and the land title gets changed, and then all these houses go up and all this farmland and woodland gets destroyed. It happens in cities too. The government want to go and build this or build that, and so they put it on the local government websites. People don't pay attention to it, so they get away with it because they have to offer it us and give us the chance to rebut it. Now, they do the same thing in movies. They've done the same thing with the movie Avatar. They have a project at the moment in the military, the Avatar project, which is all about actually linking up the biological computer of a human being, the body and brain of the human, to an avatar. So the avatar can go into battle, fight the war, and it can be controlled by the soldier on safe grounds. They showed us this in the movie ages ago, years ago. They told us what was happening, but we just thought it was a movie. That's what we do, we just think it's a movie. They've showed us so many things in movies. What prompted me to make this video is I was watching Rebel Moon. I watched Rebel Moon on a flight about a week and a half ago. I watched part 1 and I watched part 2. And Rebel Moon is about these people on a planet, i.e. Earth, and they're farmers, and they're some of the best farmers that create this incredible grain, and they use this grain to literally support their whole community. But there's this guy up in space, and he looks human. He's dressed in a military uniform, a bit like a Nazi, and he's monitoring Earth, or this planet, and he's seeing the grain that they've got, and he comes down and he demands to be shown what kind of grain they've got, and they deny that they've got any grain. So what he does with this kind of like big wizard cane thing that he's got, he smashes the guy's face and knocks him to the ground and just literally caves his skull in front of all of the other community. So everybody goes into fear, and he says, we'll be back in 6 weeks or 8 weeks or whatever it is, and we want everything packaged up so that they can take the grain up to their planet and feed themselves and nourish themselves and look after themselves, because obviously on their planet they can't get the food sources to nourish their bodies that they need. If you go back to some of the ancient tablets, if you go back to some of the Sumerian tablets, they talk about an owner of planet Earth. They talk about the all-seeing eye. If you look at the film Lord of the Rings, the Eye of Sauron is the all-seeing eye. What is the all-seeing eye? Well, the all-seeing eye is the satellite, which is known as the Black Knight satellite, which is actually in our orbit. It's very close to our planet, and it's been up there for a very long time. It's been watching us. It's the all-seeing eye that is watching us. Who controls the Black Knight satellite? Well, nobody really knows 100%, and nobody goes near it, because what happens if they start poking around with this satellite when they don't even know what it is? It can be some kind of extraterrestrial technology. If it's observing us, then somebody is looking through that satellite to observe us. And if someone has that kind of technology just floating in our orbit, watching us as a human species, watching how we're progressing, watching how we are interacting with each other, are we actually evolving as a species? Well, yes, we are evolving as a species, absolutely, massively. Are we where we need to be? No, we're far from it. You know, people talk about extraterrestrials coming down to this planet. They talk about ETs coming and saving us or visiting us and blah, blah, blah. It's all bullshit. No extraterrestrials are coming down to save us. No extraterrestrials are going to land on the White House lawn or in the middle of a field in England or somewhere and say, hey guys, what's up? People will freak out. We're not at that level of consciousness as a human species yet to be able to interact with these higher frequency beings. So they're just observing us. I mean, they're observing us from their crafts. They fly down into our local planetary environment, cloaking themselves. When your third eye is switched on, you can see these crafts. You can see these beings. I went to 15 different locations around the planet, burying crystals to create the new 7th dimensional architecture, the new dragon architecture. Whilst I was in Peru, at a sacred site, I was there, sat on one of these rocks in this circle, tapping in, tuning in, downloading some frequency. And one of our team members took a photograph. And then when we look back at the photograph afterwards, you can see up above my head, there's a craft, literally 10, 15 meters above me. And the craft is only small, but the craft is bigger than me, because when you look at the photograph of me and you look at the craft is a bit bigger than me. And you can see the head of this being on the inside. So they're always watching and monitoring and overseeing and seeing what we're up to, seeing what kind of frequency bands, what kind of frequency range that we're kind of vibrating in, seeing if we're up leveling, is our DNA getting activated. Some of us are doing it, some of us are not. Some of us are still well asleep. Some of us are upgrading and up leveling and expanding our consciousness. But coming back to this Black Knight satellite, who owns this Black Knight satellite? If you go back through some of these ancient tablets, okay, marked in stone, engraved, been there for eons. I don't think anyone really knows how long. You know, we know that our history is false. I mean, I was in Ethiopia again on this same trip when I went to Peru. I was in Ethiopia before Peru, and I went to the Debunking monastery way up on the top of a mountain. I had to rock climb up there with a rope and stuff to get to it. And inside this monastery, they've got a book. The book's massive. There's a picture of me with the book. And they said that I was the only person that had ever been able to hold this book. And I got some crazy downloads when I was holding it. But I looked through it, and it was in this ancient kind of Ethiopian language. I forget the name of it now. But in there it had the pictures of Jesus going to the mystery schools. Now they told me that this book was way over 6,000 years old. People say that Earth is 6,000 years old. Well, that book on its own just blows all of the bullshit history that we've been fed by our teachers at school out of the water. If Jesus went to the mystery schools more than 6,000 years ago, then the pyramids are way older than that. Way older than that. I mean, we know that they're way older than that anyway. Some people say that they're 50,000 years ago. Some people 100,000 years ago. I personally think they're in the millions of years old. When you look at our history and you go back to the very, very, very first Garden of Eden, when the Pleiadian Andromedans, before the Anunnaki, before all of this sort of stuff, we're talking 300-400 million years ago. 100 gazillion%. Our history is completely false. The books that they give to us, like the Bible and all of this stuff, they've just pieced lots of different scripts together. And also you've got to ask yourself, if this book is a book of God, a book of source, a book of infinite intelligence, why did he make multiple ones? Because surely the all-seeing, all-loving, omnipotent God is all about unification, and these books separate us. So you've just got to just give yourself a little bit of a slap around the face and say, come on, man. I can't believe this shit anymore. But coming back to this Black Knight satellite, you had the two brothers, Enki and Enlil. Okay, the Anunnaki brothers. Enlil owns that Black Knight satellite. If you go back through the records, Enlil owns what is known in the constellation of Boots, which is a major Arcturian threshold. You have what is known as Epsilon Botis, which is in the Boots constellation, which is a huge, huge, huge area in space. I ended up going to Bevericon, which is a planet in the constellation of Boots, many years ago when I was I was writing a book called The Vortex of Consciousness. And I'm writing a book and my laptop was in front of me and I fell through the laptop screen. I know it sounds crazy, but my consciousness just fell through and I ended up on a bridge. And I ended up going to this castle, meeting all these beings and seeing these children with crystals and halos and all of this different light technology, just walking through the empty space in the air. It was beautiful. I've been back there many times and also taken multiple meditation groups there to experience the technologies and stuff. But this constellation of boots and this Epsilon Botis is supposedly owned by Enlil. Now, if you look at us as humans, right, we own houses, we own shops, we own different things on this planet. Well, we think we do. In reality, we don't actually own anything unless we actually own something through a private trust, constructed in the right way. Because when we buy something and it's gone onto the land registry in our own name or in a company name, we don't own it. It's still owned by the government, the mind control machine. It's a whole big bullshit system. You should know that by now. But this place in space is supposedly owned by Enlil. Now you have big, powerful beings like this kind of Nazi white guy in Rebel Moon that I mentioned at the start of this video, controlling certain planets. They have certain rights to these planets. They own these planets, and they own these planets through dominance and force and fear, because they're powerful and they'll come down and obliterate you in the blink of an eye. They have crazy technologies, crazy weaponry, and they're ruthless and brutal, and they wouldn't think twice about killing your mother or your wife or your child in front of you. They have no morals or values whatsoever. And some of these what are supposedly gods, which aren't really gods, they're just beings from other spaces that have remembered more of their own gene code. Ours have been played around with, so we're a much more subservient species at the moment. But these beings in space, they own certain planets, and planet Earth is owned. We think that we're free, but we're not really free. It's the illusion of freedom, like the illusion of unity. Really, we're in massive separation. It's a dog-eat-dog world, still running off that Fibonacci mathematical sequence. 3 has to eat 2 and 1 to create itself. 5 has to eat 3 and 2 to create itself. There's no direct connection back to the 0. When you go to the film Rebel Moon, what they don't want is for the beings on the planet, the humans, to get advanced and intelligent and powerful. So they keep smashing them, taking their food, taking their grain, taking their crops, and keeping them in a state of fear, a state of malnutrition, so that they can never really amplify and grow and expand. That's what's happening on planet Earth. Why do you think it's so hard for human beings to get ahead? First of all, there's frequency fences all over the planet. So as soon as our frequency goes up, we hit the frequency fence, it triggers the holographic blueprint, the holographic supercomputer that we're living in, and it communicates with the minds and the hearts of men and women all over the planet. And strangers will do things and say things to us. Family members will do things and say to us to derail our train and bring us back down to a lower frequency. The whole game is rigged against us. When we come down and we come out of our mother's bodies, we're blank slated. No memory recall. When you incarnate, you're supposed to have full memory recall. So you remember all of your past lives, everything. Doesn't happen to humans. When we leave our body, we're stuck in this reincarnation cycle. If you don't understand the game, you'll never get off this planet. But we, as planetary custodians, sacred keepers of this beautiful Earth, we're starting to remember that we have the keys and the codes inside of us. And we're starting to remember why we came to this Earth plane as Stargate Guardians. We're here to recode our own mathematics so we can exit through these Stargates. In China, in Giza, these different gateways all over the planet. You've got them in the pyramids and some of these ancient structures, which are massive supercomputers. They're like space shuttles, but they don't take off. You just go through a gateway inside of them off to other realms. Some of you know, I hired the whole Giza pyramid to myself on my birthday last year. I went in the dark. I had this experience. They showed me the gateways. The walls in the King's Chamber completely collapsed. The Ark of the Covenant came in holographically, went into the box, boom, the whole place just lit up. I brought in the constellations, went through this whole mathematical sequence that Thoth taught me in the mystery schools, and boom, I went on this crazy journey. Absolutely amazing. These technologies are real, but they're trying to keep them from us, because when we remember these technologies, the guy on Rebel Moon, he's not going to be able to control us. Enlil is not going to be able to control us. Okay, these beings that want to keep us small, like little insects, trampling all over us, sucking our energy, feeding off of our loosh, feeding off of our fear, of our guilt, off of our anger, off of our rejection. They want to keep us small and tiny, making us think that we're weak and we're the only beings on a planet out there, and there are no other beings. There is no alien life, extraterrestrial life. I don't even really like those words, alien and extraterrestrial. Beings from other planets. We're just as much extraterrestrial as they are, really and truly. We're just as much alien as they are. So let's just call ourselves beings. Michio Kaku, the Japanese fella, he was talking about this center, this void out in space that has light bent around it, hundreds of millions of light years away. And this light bent around this void space is this Epsilon Botis. And he says that within this kind of void space, maybe there's an ancient civilization. Well, if Enlil owns Epsilon Botis, and Enlil owns Earth, and Enlil owns the black satellite, what else does he own? This could be where he's residing right now. Maybe he is, maybe he isn't. I'm just posing some questions to get you to think, to get you to go into your own heart, to realize that you've got to question everything that is taking place on planet Earth right now. We live in a matrix, we live in a computer game, we live in a holographic universe. Everything outside of our galaxy, within this universe and other universes beyond it, is still in this holographic matrix. It's not until you get beyond the 15th dimension that you actually start to move through the primary light fields, the primary sound fields, through to source, through to the God worlds, and you start to access the truth beyond this matrix. Yes, inside this matrix there's billions and trillions of planets and trillions of species, higher dimensional beings, but they're still stuck in this matrix. Some of them are, some of them aren't. Let me correct myself. Some of them are, some of them aren't. And we can remember how to move out of this matrix too. The Stargates are one way. You're never going to do it in your Merkaba field, because your Merkaba field only turns at 90-degree rotations, which means you always get stuck in this cubed structure. If you want to get out of this cubed structure, you've got to move in your multidimensional Merkaba field, and that will help you spiral out, because you've got more tetrahedrons, more capacity to spiral instead of move at right angles. If you're ever getting chased by a demonic being or some kind of interdimensional entity, it's always going to get you if you're moving at right angles. But if you spiral, it's not going to be able to move through the dimensional spaces like you. This Black Knight satellite, it knows how many people are on planet Earth. It knows our population at all times. It knows how many people are in each different country. It knows where our gold reserves are. It knows where our mineral reserves are. It knows everything about us. It's like some kind of hyped up supersonic detection machine that can just analyze a whole fucking planet. Do you realize how amazing that technology is? So everything that we're doing is being recorded. Everything that we're doing is being monitored. We think that, we've got cameras in every single country. We've got cameras all over the place in all our major cities that just biometrics reading every single move. This is like that on massive amounts of steroids. And that Black Knight satellite is probably feeding into all of those cameras as well on one level. Even though it gets a straight blueprint and can go straight down through the core of the Earth into Middle Earth, where there's other civilizations too. Everything is being recorded and watched over. There are so many incredible technologies out there in the stars. Just go back to our galactic history. We had the wars on Avion, the Lyran Wars, when the Dracos came in and obliterated Avion, the first Garden of Eden. They slaughtered and massacred. Some of those beings left in crafts, and they met other beings that have been destroyed by the reptilians in other parts of the universe and the galaxy, and they formed the Galactic Federation of Worlds. and they went to war. They created technologies and they went to war with the Dracos, and it was chaos in space for a long time, hundreds of millions of years. And then they formed a truce by some high elders from the Lyran civilization, those feline humanoids. They bred with the Draco reptilians. It was actually a male Lyran with a female Draco, and that's what created the Anunnaki. And there's peace in the galaxy for a long time. One of the technologies that they had, as well as all the crazy weaponry, was the Tablets of Destiny. The Tablets of Destiny could destroy planets. The Tablets of Destiny could also recreate planets. And when Tara, Tiamat, same planet, massive planet, huge, makes Earth look like a pea. Makes Earth look so insignificant, even though she's a beautiful celestial mother of ours, and she's housed us a long time. When Tara, Tiamat blew up, the Tablets of Destiny were used to bring some of those pieces back together and create this green and blue ball that we call planet Earth. After the Martian Wars, after the Palladium Wars, when Maldek got blew up, which is a beautiful feminine planet with mermaids and mermen and teeming with feminine life, a lot of the souls that there ended up coming down into the reincarnation cycle on Earth because they were looking for refuge after their planetary homes got blown up, after Mars's environment got blown up. I've taken so many groups on meditations to Mars, spanning vast time periods, and the life there was amazing. The cities there were amazing. The technologies there were out of this world. I remember even going on one meditation journey with a big bunch of souls. We went to these kind of experimental labs, and Yeshua was there in his Palladium form, and he was showing us some of the technologies there. Absolutely out of this world, breathtaking. What we've been taught with our history is completely false. This planet is dominated and controlled, but you see, it's beautiful because we chose to come down here. We came down here for many reasons. We came down here to experience life on this planet. We came down here to go through this crazy training program, because if you can find your way back home here, you can find your way back home anywhere. And we're being trained to be the creator gods that we once were. The creator gods that used to go out and build planets and galaxies and universes and multiverses. But we got subjugated to massive enslavement, massive playing around with our gene code and becoming a subservient species to other beings. We're slaves. We're slaves. But we're slaves that are intelligent and fucking powerful. And we have in our own gene code, the capability to be more powerful than the beings that control this planet right now. And they're fucking scared of that. They're scared of that. That's why they do everything in their power to keep us small. They do everything in their power to keep us looking outside of ourselves. Because when we look outside of ourselves, we don't look in. When we look outside of ourselves, we buy into the bullshit and the chaos and the mayhem. And we hand our power over to Big Pharma, to the Bible, to the Quran, to all of the stuff that is going on planet Earth right now. We enjoy eating the foods with glyphosate in. We enjoy drinking the water with atrazine, which changes the biology of a male frog to a female frog. It's got fluoride in that burns through concrete in its natural form. We enjoy consuming all of those things and then letting 5G activate them with the Bluetooth in our homes. It's crazy, but we have the power to move beyond this whole system and become those creator gods again. And this is what they fear the most. So I'm reaching out to you as my sister or brother. I'm reaching out to you as a fellow sovereign soldier. Look at that word, soldier. S-O-U-L, soldier. Also look at that word, S-O-L, soldier. It's our soul shining the light of the sun. That's what a real soldier is. We're bringing forth the light. But they've tricked us. They've told us that soldiers go to war and pull the trigger to kill other human beings. No, soldiers bring the light. Just like Big Pharma. Big Pharma is the big farmer. The guys growing the crops, the farmers. In Africa, in Australia, moons ago, shards ago. You know, it's what a lot of these ancients, these galactics, measure time in. They measure it in shards. 3,600 years is one shard. If you go back to the farmers, the original farmers, the powers that be came in and stripped away their crops, obliterating the crops, and then starting the new big farmer, which is the PHARMA farm, instead of the FARMER farmer. Both the same farmers, both peddling medicine, both creating medicine, both doing things to help with diseases and all that kind of stuff. It's just that one is natural and one isn't. One is completely synthetic and manufactured, and what it does, it harms the body. It opens you up to interdimensional entities entering your body. You're contracting with many dark beings when you take pharmaceutical medicine. When you put natural medicines into your body loves it. Your body rejects all of that stuff, that synthetic big pharma stuff, but your body becomes addicted to it. So coming off those kind of medications is tough. When you take the real medicine, you can switch medicines whenever you like. Your body doesn't become addicted, it's natural. The thing is, we have most of these chemicals inside of us. We are the big farmers. We're our own big farmers. We've got billions of chemicals inside of us, which you can activate through breath work and meditation and bringing certain light frequencies in. Our bodies are a slither of what they should be. Our pineal gland should be 4 or 5 times bigger. We should have 6 digits on each hand, on each foot. Our bodies should be huge. I've worked with many people around this planet that have been meditating or downloading frequency, and their heads have grown, their hands have grown, their feet have gone from a size 7 to a size 10 in hours. They woke up in the morning and their human skull is 4 times the size that it should be, but their brain stayed the same because they're downloading codes and their extraterrestrial bodies are switching back on. We are powerful, beautiful soul. We've got to unify. We've got to come together. This spiritual community is so separated, it's unbelievable. And we should be the most unified community on the whole planet. So let's come together. If you're watching this video and you've got a pair of bollocks, if you've got something about you, reach out, let's collaborate. Let's make this world a better place. Let's unify. Let's work together. Let's share. Let's create communities. Let's grow and evolve as a human race. Let's not keep all of our tools and our skills for ourselves. Let's share them with our sisters and brothers. It's what we do in Star Magic. Whenever we do a training, we share everything and beyond. We go over and above the call of duty and share as much as we possibly can. People say that our 5-day training should be a 10-day training or a 15-day training or a 3-week training. There's so much information in there. It blows people's minds because we over-deliver. We've got to unify and over-deliver as one, not as separated pieces. Bits of a jigsaw puzzle spread all over Earth, that's no good to anybody. If 100 men or 100 people can control a whole fucking planet, it's sad. Why is it sad? Because it means that the other 8-9 billion people, however many there really are on this planet, are too separated, fighting amongst each other, fighting for power and dominion, instead of coming together and taking back control of our planet, being the rightful custodians, the Stargate guardians. We can do it, beautiful soul, but it's a choice, and you've got to make that choice. I can't do this for you. We've got 10 billion miles of DNA in our body. We've got 45,000 miles of electrical wire in our nervous system. All of this stores biophotons full of data. We've got so much potential, but we're just not activating it. What are you going to do? Are you going to sit there in the bleachers or jump onto the park and get stuck into the game? Are you going to come out swinging, come out fighting? Or are you going to sit there and get crushed, die in this human body, and come back down through that reincarnation cycle to play the game all over again? This isn't me talking fear into you. This is me talking truth into you. But I don't expect you to believe a single word that comes out of my mouth. I want you to go into your heart, feel this, and question every word that comes out of my mouth. And then you're either going to know it is truth, or you're going to cast it aside as a sin. It doesn't bother me. I'm just here to do what I'm here to do, and that is to share. What you do with this information is up to you. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink it. One thing I know is this: you got to have fun. You got to be a little bit crazy. You got to be the joker, the jester, the fool. You got to dance on the table. You got to laugh. You got to do headstands in the middle of the street. You got to do whatever the fuck you want to do to be free and liberate yourself from these invisible shackles. Because laughter, high humor, dancing, fun, being crazy is what helps you navigate this human experience and break down those invisible barriers and allow that radical uniqueness to flow out from your heart and light up the lives of your sisters and brothers and light up your own life in the process. The world is craving your gifts. The world is craving your talents, your uniqueness. So get into the game, get involved, and let's do this, beautiful soul. So I want to dive into a subject today that is kind of swirling around in a lot of people's consciousness. And it's a topic that has so much gold, and it's also a topic that has so much corruption and manipulation. It's a playing field where you can grow so much, and it's a playing field where you can become extremely stuck. And it's the Emerald Tablets, and it's this being we call Thoth. I spent time in the ancient mystery schools remembering a potent healing modality that we call star magic, that we've used to go out into the world and change the lives of hundreds and thousands of people. The codes and the frequencies that we utilize in star magic are potent. Now what you've got to remember is this: the force is the same whether you use it for dark or light. So you can use the same force and do good things, or you can use the same force and do not so good things. The mathematics and the equations are very similar. Some of them exactly the same. But what you've got to do is decide what you're going to do with this energy. Now there are some people that follow the Emerald Tablets and follow the words and the transmissions that Thoth puts forwards like they're everything. And as I said, there's so much gold in there, but there's also some deception. If you read the Bible, there's mostly deception. But there is some good stuff in there if you know how to read the code. It doesn't matter what you've got, whether it's a human or a book. There is goods and not so goods in everything. What you have to do as a human is use discernment and decide. Make choices. Do I blindly want to trust and follow, or do I want to question? Do I want to drop into my present state of awareness and feel this information? Thoth and the Emerald Tablets are a spiritual psyops. So many people take every word, every vibration, every frequency that comes out of those tablets or comes out of the transmissions of Thoth as gospel. Thoth has been through some very turbulent, dark times throughout our galactic history, just like we all have. So you can't go and put everything on the hanger and trust that it's going to be safe. If you want to escape this matrix, you got to trust your own heart. You got to use your own intuition, because I'm telling you now, whether you believe it or not, it doesn't matter to me. But I know there is so much corruption within these teachings, but there's also some gold. I spent 9 months every single day for 2 hours with this being in the mystery schools in Egypt, going through codes, going through scrolls, going through scriptures, going through tablets, going through visuals, visions, teachings in so many different ways. And I had to decipher what was right and what wasn't right. And the only way that I got to discover what was right and what wasn't right is by trial and error. But eventually you crack the code. If you employed a teacher to teach you basketball, or to teach you to sing, or to teach you something else in this world, would you want that teacher to push you to the limits? Or would you want them to mollycoddle you, wrap you up in cotton wool, and make it so easy that you never really grow? What you've got in Thoth is a proper teacher. Like ayahuasca, she's a proper teacher. She will love you, and she will beat the crap out. Thoth will present to you the good information. He will present to you the bad information, which isn't really good and bad. It's not really dark and light, it's just information. It's just some of it works in the way you expect it to work, and some of it doesn't work in the way you expect it to work. And say, Jerry, I've been working with this lady that I really trust, and she's activated my Merkaba field. My masculine electrical top tetrahedron is now spinning anti-clockwise, and my feminine tetrahedron, my magnetic one, is spinning clockwise. She said my top one's spinning a lot faster than my bottom one. That's a fucked up Merkaba. You want your top tetrahedron rotating clockwise and the bottom one anti-clockwise. The female tetrahedron spins much faster than the male tetrahedron, not the other way round. Some people are teaching people to spin their tetrahedrons the same way, either clockwise or anti-clockwise. Both of them negate quantum spark. They create zero quantum spark because the rod and the star are both spinning the same way. But having them total opposites is out of balance too. Your whole energy system's going to get disrupted. We get controlled through our Merkaba field. And Thoth helped me understand Merkaba mechanics. I've been to lots of other incredible, mysterious, multidimensional teachers throughout the years, and I've had so many different ways to do this and do that. But you got to pick it apart, you got to try it, you got to see what works on you, your clients. Play around with your family, people that are willing to be the guinea pig and see how it unfolds, and then you know. He said to me, this lady, she activated my Merkaba field through Fibonacci mathematics. Well, if you're working with Fibonacci mathematics, you're working old school. You're working in the darkness. You're working in the systems that control the banks. The whole banking system is run off the Fibonacci. There's no energy. Look at the word Fibonacci. Fib, oh not chi. The fib is a lie of no chi, no energy. The lie of no energy. That's why we use the crystal mathematics that plug you into the 0 point, back into source, back into prime creator. The Fibonacci mathematics don't do that. The Fibonacci mathematics are never going to tip your Merkaba field into a proper rotational spin at the right speeds. If you read the Emerald Tablets and you take it all on trust, you're handing your power over. If you read the Bible, the Quran, and you take it all on trust, you're handing your power over. If you hand your power over to anyone, anything, anybody, any book, any religion, you're handing your power over. The Emerald Tablets are the same, but just like the Bible, there's mathematical genius inside the Emerald Tablets. There's mathematics everywhere. This whole world is run off of mathematics. Everybody goes on about the flower of life. Some people call the flower of life God. This geometry. Well, if you look inside this multi-dimensional universal matrix, yeah, the flower of life plays a big part. But is it true? Is it correct? Is it the real mathematics? No, it's not God. God is source. The flower of life is not source. The amount of businesses that I've been into, the amount of homes that people live in that I've worked with, beautiful souls, beautiful families all over this planet that were playing around with the flower of life mathematics, the Fibonacci mathematics. I've been in and recoded their premises. I've been in and recoded their own templates, and their whole life flourishes when they plug into those crystalline mathematics. You get to choose which direction you take. I can't make you go in any direction. Nobody can. But if you blindly trust and blindly follow, you're fucking dangerous to yourself and to the rest of your sisters and brothers. You gotta start asking good questions. You gotta start feeling your way through life. When you walk into the space of a woman, especially as a man, you gotta feel your way into that space so you know where she's at. You can't think your way into that space, otherwise you're gonna create chaos. You're gonna disrupt the polarity. And the polarity is important for a beautiful, harmonious relationship. In a sacred marriage, if you've got two partners, polarity is the essence that expands the relationship, connects the relationship. If two beings become electrical or two beings become magnetic, slippery slope. You might get on, but that fire will disappear. You can't have a relationship without fire. You can't have a relationship without water, earth, wind, spirit. You need the elements. Stop believing everything you read. Don't believe a single word that comes out of my mouth. Feel the information and then decide what you're going to do with it. But don't believe anything. Belief systems are for those infants, those children that haven't worked out that they should be knowing their way through life, not thinking and believing their way through life. Transcend belief systems, move into the heart space. That's the key, beautiful soul. Remember, wherever you are on planet Earth, go out and love your sisters and brothers, fiercely and ferociously. Hug them tightly and never be the first to let go. It's the golden rule of hugging. You know that's a beautiful medicine. Be the joker, be the jester, be the fool. Be a bit crazy, smile, laugh, dance. Have a bit of fun, be a bit noisy. Do whatever you need to do, be wild, beautiful soul. Don't take life too seriously.